So good morning. Yes, I'm Flore-Anne. I'm working for the OECD. I'm working specifically on financial education, which has been a big topic for us at the OECD over the last decade. But before delivering a very brief intervention and telling you a little bit why we are involved as the OECD in child finance and why especially this learning framework on education is important, I would like to say that this session is about interaction. So we really hope to have you all involved in the session. So I will be very brief and then leave our 5 distinguished panelists to make a quick intervention. You then have time for question and answers. And then we'll move and we'll divide it into 3 groups. The 3 groups will follow the framework developed by Child Finance. That is to say, we'll have a group on financial education, a group on social and life skills, and the last group on livelihood and I would say employability. So you have time between now and let's say the next 45 minutes to decide in which group you would like to belong. And basically we'll be addressing 2 key questions. The first one will be how to integrate the 3 components of the learning framework. And another question is how to make sure that this learning framework can be scaled up and basically used at a wider level. So let me now very briefly tell you a bit more about what we've been doing at the OECD on financial education. So basically, we started working on this a decade ago because there was a concern from OECD government and more widely by all countries around the world on the fact that risk was increasingly transferred to individuals. And we started working on this issue, stock taking in testing programs in member and non-member countries. Already in 2005, we realized that young people and children in particular was a primary target for financial education. And we committed to make sure that financial education could start early and, if possible, at schools. We then expanded our work through the International Network on Financial Education, created in 2008. As mentioned by Andre, this network is now composed of 95 economies and mainly public institutions. One of the first priorities of this network is really financial education in schools. Actually, we have 3 priorities when we asked the members in 2008, and they said, well, number 1 is financial education at school. Number 2 is measurement of financial literacy. Number 3 is evaluation of programs, because we want to make sure that the programs we are developing are making a difference. So what we did on financial education at school is we launched a broad survey, a stock take exercise of financial education programs in schools in our member countries. And we realized that 20 countries had some learning framework at national level on financial education. So it was rather good news at this point in time. And we know that more and more countries are developing this learning framework. Member countries have also told us that there are many challenges for the integration of financial education in school curricula. And of course, school curricula is not the only means to provide financial education to young people. We acknowledge the fact that in many countries, financial education cannot be integrated in the formal school system, or shouldn't be, because not all children have access to school. But we are really committed to try to achieve this objective. So what we've done is we've developed case studies on what successful countries have been doing in order to integrate financial education in schools. We've been developing guidelines, and we've been developing documents and publication. I have here a very short leaflet. If you're interested to have a look at it, the leaflet is providing some figures rationally for developing financial education in schools and some very preliminary guidance. We also have a website where you can have access to learning framework on financial education that are available worldwide. In addition to that, we thought that it's very fine to provide guidance to policymakers, but what we need is evidence of the needs and gaps of youth, and also having quantitative survey to be able to measure progress. So with this in mind, we have introduced a financial literacy component in the PISA exercise. Andre mentioned it in the opening session. So PISA, it's Program for International Student Assessment. This program is performed every 3 years across 70 countries and is looking at core competency and capabilities of students aged 15 years old in science, mathematics, and reading. So for 2012, we will have also a financial literacy option, that is currently piloted in 18 countries. So I'd like to thank these 18 countries for participating in the exercise. In order to do this assessment, we had to develop a framework. This is the financial literacy framework. And why I'm mentioning that is because this financial literacy framework has been one of the bases for the development of the component of the child finance learning framework. So basically this framework make it very clear on financial education, the framework on financial education, make it very clear that financial literacy is not only about knowledge, but really skills, behavior, and attitude of students. And this is something that is very important. Having said that, we are distinguishing 4 different categories for financial literacy in particular. Money and transaction, that is translated into resource and use in the child finance framework. Planning and managing finance. Risk and rewards, that is relative to the risk and reward of each and single financial products, but also the possibility to secure the assets over time through insurance products, for example. And last but not least, financial landscape, which cover, for example, the responsibilities of consumers and their rights in the financial sphere. I don't want to be too long here, and I look forward to the discussion later on how to best integrate the 3 components of the child finance framework. And with this, I'd like now to leave the floor to our first distinguished